So in July, the YouTube system for detecting mass-produced, I guess you can call it synthetic video, they looked at a channel that draws every frame by hand and concluded that it was mass-produced synthetic video. And the channel itself is Kurzgesagt, which has somewhere north of 23 million subscribers. They have been animating science explainers since 2013, right? So what happened to them, I guess, is worth, again, 12 minutes. Not because a big channel had a bad week, but because of why the machine was wrong, which is stranger and considerably less fixable than a bug. So they basically noticed some kind of odd fluctuations across a few uploads. So the second to last video did badly. Right? Then they published one about microscopic super predators, and it became the worst performing upload on the channel since 2013, right? Not slightly down, like worse since the year they started, which is bad. So the diagnostic detail is one that matters, right? Click-through rate was wrong. So watch time was strong, which means that the people who were shown the video clicked on it, and the people who clicked stayed, right? So nothing was wrong with the video. The only thing that broke was the number of people it was shown to. So they called YouTube because, they are large enough to have someone to call. So YouTube confirmed it, and the automated detection had flagged that the video was artificial, right? And the distribution had been cut from the top down. So the channel said that the contacts were helpful and transparent, and the problem was acknowledged and they believed corrected. Right? So then Kurzgesagt took the video offline anyway. So they plan to just re-upload it on maybe some kind of adjusted version in a few weeks, and they hope that the detector approves it the second time, right? So I want to leave that sentence alone for a second. An animation studio is now editing its work to change some classifier's opinion about whether a human made it. Now, the word Shadowbanned is not a YouTube term and has never been, right? But the thing creators are describing is not some kind of conspiracy, and it's not hidden either. So YouTube announced it in public in 2019. It began demoting what it calls borderline content in recommendations, right? And later they reported the result as a 70% drop in watch time for that content, any content coming from recommendations to people who were not subscribed in the US. So by March 2021, the same system was running in every market where YouTube operates. So the mechanism has been I guess you could say, documented for 7 years. And what has never existed is the notification, basically. So a strike is visible, it arrives, it says what rule you broke, and there is a form. Demotion is a different category of event entirely, right? Formally, it's not a punishment. It's basically the absence of a promotion, and you do not get told when a thing does not happen to you, if it makes sense. So that is the whole architecture. There is no appeal because on paper nothing was done. Now the machine itself, because this is where it stopped being about YouTube's mood. In June, Google researchers they published a paper on detecting coordinated synthetic content on video platforms. So the system is called Scalable Cluster Termination System. The central idea is that it basically judges videos one at a time, and it looks for, I guess, what you could say the paper calls generation clusters. So it's groups of accounts that share some kind of infrastructure signals and a synthetic narrative templates. Then it terminates the cluster. So it uses some kind of a lightweight adapter so that when the content forms are switched to a different generator, Sora, Kling, or whichever is cheapest that month or is still alive, well, the detector can be retrained without rebuilding the old model. So the reported results, it describes high precision, right? So no public benchmark or data set was released with the paper though, but anyway, not a video that was generated, just a family resemblance. A look that a lot of accounts have at once. Which brings us to the part that makes this story instead of an incident, right? Kurzgesagt style, it's kind of flat. It's minimal, it's geometric, it's brightly colored, and since 2013, it has been one of the most copied look on the internet, to the point where it became a house style for a decade of just some kind of a corporate illustration, right? So copied looks are exactly what ends up heavily represented in the training data of image and video models, which means that generated video produces that look by default, cheaply at big volume, right? Which means that the slop forms, it produces it by default. Which means that a detector trying to recognize slop learns that this look is evidence. So the style was, I guess you could say, absorbed by the models, and the models, it just fed the farms, and the farms trained the detector, right? And the detector made the original and did not recognize it, because by 2026, statistically, it was right. Most video that looks like that is now machine made. So they were flagged for resembling their own imitators, which is fucking crazy. So there is a policy footnote there that people got excited about and mostly misread. On the 15th of July 2025, YouTube renamed a monetization rule. So repetitious content became inauthentic content. And YouTube insisted that this was a clarification of wording. So it's not a new prohibition. And they also said that mass-produced material had always been illegible, right? So I think YouTube is telling the truth about that, and I think that it is the least reassuring possible answer, right? The standard was always originality, and originality at a scale of hundreds of hours uploaded per minute cannot be measured. Origin is not just a property you can see in a file. So what a system can measure is whether something looks like other things. So the rule has always meant resemblance, and the rename simply admitted it out loud. Now, the volume is real, and it is not just a talking point, right? There are channels with billions of views that were actually entirely made of generated fucking garbage, and YouTube has been deleting them, right? So even review at YouTube's upload volume, it's not a policy option. It's just some kind of arithmetic that does not close. So cluster level termination is a sane engineering answer to a coordinated attack, and attacking 100 accounts at once is genuinely more effective than just arguing with each of them. And when Kurzgesagt raised the alarm, YouTube moved quickly and told them what had happened. So almost all of that holds. And the part that does not is narrow. It is not that the system was wrong. I mean, every classifier is wrong sometimes, and a false positive rate of a fraction of a percent against a huge volume is thousands of channels. So the failure is that the system has no door. There is no notice, there is no stated reason, and no route to contest a single thing that officially did not occur. So Kurzgesagt got out because they had a phone number. And the analytics firm at VidIQ made the obvious point immediately. So a channel that size can find out and correct this. But a creator with 5 million subscribers reporting the same collapse cannot, or even with maybe 10,000, 500. So that is not a technical gap, it is a customer service tier. And it is currently the only appeal mechanism that exists. And there's one thing I will say without irony. In October of 2025, Kurzgesagt published a video whose entire argument was that they would rather quit than make AI slop. And they meant it. So they kept drawing every frame, and it cost, a lot of money than the alternative. And 9 months later, the platform slop detector came for them specifically. And they were punished for a decision that was expensive and correct by a system built to reward exactly that decision. So the detector will be retrained, obviously, maybe when the forms move to the next generator, and maybe that takes an afternoon, I don't know. So the animation does not. So the actual finding is not that YouTube shadowbans people. It is that the platform has built some kind of economy where the only measurable proxy for human effort is how unusual it looks. And unusual is a temporary condition, right? Anything good enough to be copied will eventually be copied at scale by machines. And on that day, the original becomes indistinguishable from the flawed it started. So there is no version of this where the detector gets smart enough and can fix it. There's only a version where somebody has to be told, always.